Welcome to Lip Service for Contractors. Here you'll learn what moves the needle in your business. With your hosts, Brigham, the deep thinker, Josh, the $100 million contractor, Zach, the confused millennial, Laura, the foreigner. Lip service. It's not about dictatorship. It's about leadership. It's not about duplication. It's about innovation. It's not about stuff. It's about your people. Strap in and get ready for some lip service.
And we are back with another episode of Lip Service for Contractors, you guys. We've got a great episode for you today. We've got some incredible individuals. Now, I know in the back here you're going, okay, who the heck is this? Well, it's a phenomenal team that I'll tell you about. It's booked. It is a night answering service. We're going to talk about what they do and how they do it and learn about their industry, all of that and much, much more in 60 seconds.
Power Selling Pros is the customer service coaching company for contractors. Their one-on-one coaching for CSRs helps contractors book at least 85% of their calls and wow more customers. And their group training for technicians helps you create a better buying experience in the home and close more sales. Visit powersellingpros.com to learn more about how you can make more money with their coaching programs.
Chances are you love what you're hearing on Lip Service for Contractors. And if you want to go deeper, have an actionable playbook, or just want to learn from some of the most successful and profitable contractors in the industry, check out Clover Marketing from Josh and Laura. They give away free, amazing information, tools, SOPs, scripts, and processes that help their family business grow to over 140 million. And those same tools have helped other contractors in the industry blow up their business and grow an average of 20% every single year. Check out growwithclover.com/free gifts. They update the free gifts section all the time, so make sure you keep coming back. Lip Service for Contractors, welcome back. You guys, we've got a company that is fantastic with us today. And the reason why I say it's fantastic, I say it with a little bias. Why? Because I started this company with Barry and Diane. They are both here to talk about books. It's a company that we started last year. And Josh, why don't you start us off, get us going with some questions.
Yeah, so I thought this would be a good one, number one, because obviously we're fans of Barry and Diane personally and professionally. I think a lot of companies don't pay real attention to their on-call service.
Josh told me last week that you don't like them personally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like Barry personally, but the rest of them, what is I like?
Really, the feeling's mutual, Josh.
No, but like, I think people think of their on-call service as like a black hole that they send calls to, and sometimes calls get booked, sometimes calls don't. And and here's the worst part. So many companies rely on on-call services, meaning like they're not properly staffed to actually handle their own calls. So in the middle of the day, calls are going to their on-call service and they're totally wasting them. Like, you spend money for that phone call and there's a huge opportunity loss when you don't get that phone call, right? We've had this conversation, 100 times, like, how much is that call worth? I don't know what it is worth until we go out there. So I have to assume every call is a $10,000 call, right? And so many people send it to this black box, these $10,000 calls, and don't even track whether they convert or whether they're good or if they're really providing an amazing experience or if they're selling over the phone or all the hundreds of things that we would ask our own team to do. We almost ignore that they can be done in an on-call service. So I think it's good to kind of open up a discussion a little bit, right? Barry, Diane, you guys are more experts on on-call service. I've used several on-call services throughout the years. What's the difference between a good on-call service and a poor on-call service?
The experience that we've had over the last year and a half running Booked, I can tell you that the feedback that we get from our customers, potential customers, and almost everyone that we talk to is that they are frustrated with their current call center because the people show a lack of care. They just don't care, right? They don't care if the call gets booked. They don't care if the customer has a good experience. And so I think one of the main differences is when you look for a call center, you should find a call center that trains their agents and trains them to be positive, trains them to be happy, and trains them to care about the customer.
Mm-hmm.
So not just the customer, right? It's also the contractor as well. And that's some of the feedback that we get from our customers on an ongoing basis.
Well, with all fairness, right? Like, you're 100% right. But like, as a call center, how difficult is it to get people to care, right? Because they work for 40 different companies, a lot of times in 15 different industries, right? And they're totally different processes. Like, talk to me about like how you get them to care.
We do ongoing one-on-one coaching with all of our CSRs. So that is an excellent way. We do excellent quality control as well. So if you're looking for a call center, make sure that you've got someplace, find out what their quality control process is, because actually caring for the customers should be part of that QA process. A lot of times you'll see call centers that have QA process in place, but it's only for the numbers, right? It's only how short are the calls? Are they converting? If you're getting that. But we actually do QA on how the customer experience as well, and do our.
Can you define what QA is for our listeners?
So quality assurance. So
Quality assurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was really a shirt for Laura. We all know that everybody else in the podcast knew exactly what we were thinking. Like questions and answers.
If any other listener understands that, you're so welcome. Okay, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, make sure that you find a call center that is, first of all, treating their people really well, and then doing quality control to make sure that they are treating your customers really well too.
Yeah. And you talked about too, the metrics, right? Like,
No.
yeah, I think just like with any partner, like, and it's not just a call center, it's with your digital marketing partner, it's with your marketing person, it's with your vendors, it's with your sheet metal guy, whatever, right? Transparency is so important. Like, it's the most, I could drive anyone's success as long as they have good reporting and they're willing to work for it, right? Talk to me about like that side of it too. Cause like I've worked with companies where like their numbers were totally freaking off and not accurate, not real. Talk to me about like what kind of KPIs you try to hit, what kind of conversion numbers you're going for, and like what the details of that look like.
Absolutely. So we're measuring a ton of things. We're measuring obviously handle time, conversion rates, whether they're customer experience and volume. There's a lot of different metrics that go into ensuring a successful shift for the CSRs and for our clients. We're looking at a ton of different numbers every day just to make sure that everything is balanced out appropriately. So yeah, it's you have to have a good software. It's really key in this. And we learned that there's a lot of softwares out there that can help, but we ended up building ours by putting together a few. So we're able to really hit the measurements that we want and able to really track all of that over time.
So it sounds like it's a tough business. For contractors, it seems like night answering services or call centers, third-party call centers are like the bane of their existence. They do not speak highly of them in general. What inspired you guys to be a part of this industry?
Yeah, just go ahead and call it what is this terribly difficult, low profit industry.
That's actually a really great question. For the longest time, we've, as being part of Power Selling Pros now for 13 years, for the longest time, we've had customers tell us how bad they dislike and how unhappy they are with their current answering service. While at the same time saying, I wish you guys would just start an answering service and train your agents how you're training my CSRs. And that's really where it came from. For the longest time, we didn't want to go down that path until there was a few of us that were ambitious enough to take on the project. Thank you, Diane.
My pleasure.
And so we thought that we could do it better. And that's why we did it. We thought we knew we could do it better. We knew we could train our agents on the pattern for excellence. We knew that we could train them to create great experiences. We knew that we could train them to book calls. We knew we could train them to overcome objections and keep our customers happy. Now, does that mean that we don't make mistakes? No. When you're working with that many companies and that many people, occasionally there are going to be some mistakes, right? But even with that being said, we do a better job because we train and monitor and work really hard to provide a good experience.
So, question for you. We spoke last week in Pantheon. You mentioned that it takes 6 weeks to train these agents. Like, that's amazing and so time consuming all at the same time. How can you, like,
I bet I just want to shout this out before you finish. Do you know what the average industry length for a call center, not like inside an HVAC business. I mean, like an on-call center. How long before they get on the phone?
How long?
1 day.
See, that's why it's so bad, I'm sure. So like that training, what is that training like? Is that training like you 1 week you focus on conversion, the next week like what a call center CSR that you guys have trained out into the wild? What are you confident in? Like, what are their capabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. We spend a lot of time initially focusing on customer experience, but because we are very specific to home services industries, so we don't have a lot of different industries, but we do a lot of training on HVAC, on plumbing. Our CSRs have to know a lot of industry terms. They have to understand the process and how it works for these contractors. So we spend a lot of time focusing on the customer experience, and then of course industry specific stuff, and then we get into the software. And that takes about a week to really dig deep into the software, and then try to get them on the phone for short shifts as soon as we can, as soon as we feel confident that they are ready, basically. And because really getting on the phone and taking those calls is the best training for them, because that's really how they learn. So we intermittently throughout that training, they have strategic shifts where we'll take calls. So that's part of the process as well.
One question, Josh, before you jump in, what should you expect from a call center then? Because I'm sure people hire them because they know they need them. What is acceptable when you hire a call center?
Yeah, absolutely. There's all different brands of call centers out there. Some of them will go right into your system and book calls directly in. Some of them will just take messages and send them to you so that you can do the booking yourself. And so it sort of depends on what flavor you're getting into with call centers, because you've got a wide variety. We go straight into your Service Titan account. We go in and actually book your calls for you on the dispatch board and assign technicians. And so that takes a little bit more, obviously.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That increases our training time, but it also is super valuable to our contractors because they're able to really relieve some of that work in the office during the day. So as far as what your expectations are, really want to be, hitting at least an 80% conversion rate with your call center. Handle time should certainly be around 6 minutes or less. Obviously, it is high for us specifically because we're working within several different softwares in order to make it happen. That does increase the handle time. So getting in and out of Service Titan and in the other softwares that we're utilizing. So that definitely increases the handle time. So you definitely want to be under that 6 minute mark for sure. And, 80% conversion rate. And honestly, one of the things that we hear all the time is that there's just no response time. So if you have an issue with the call center and you reach out to whomever your contact is at the call center in order to get something resolved or fix something, a lot of them will take 2-3 days to even respond to you. So we really work hard to have a very quick turnaround time, because that is absolutely critical. If there's some kind of error in the process, in the software, it needs to be addressed immediately, or it's going to just continue and snowball into a problem. So that's been a really important metric for us as well, is that response time.
So this is an off the wall question, and they're not prepped for this in any way. I'm guaranteed they're not prepared for this question. It's not the first question. It's the second question that's going to come after. PSP.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, you're welcome. PSP runs all remote, is booked remote.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I just thought of this randomly, and I don't know if this would ever happen, but really what you're doing is you're creating amazing CSRs. You're teaching them systems. Would there ever be a world where you would sell those CSRs afterwards?
Set up people sounds like a crazy thing.
Tell me more. What do you mean specifically by that?
Tell me more.
Oh, hey, I have
virtual test center managers.
CSR in Phoenix that works for Dial, that we got all trained up, has been working for us for 3 months. Here's the metrics you would use. They could be a Parker and Sons CSR, and we would pay you a huge finder's fee for them.
That's an interesting concept. What I can say is that we've had multiple requests for individual CSRs to be dedicated to one specific company.
Right. And they're dedicated. I mean, realistically, why couldn't they be just...
Sure. And it could work, and it can even work remotely and be the dedicated CSR.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah, and we've actually had that request, and that's actually something that we're right in the middle of getting ready to pilot right now.
Call centers, this is one thing, and I think what you're doing is amazing, but like we all know, like recruiting and retention is one of the biggest problems in the industry. Even for call centers, people don't know how to train them effectively, right? You could have like a really amazing training and kind of like a AAA team, right? That you farm out to contractors. And, this could be an exciting part of the business too. Cause like when I hear 6 weeks of training before they get on the phone, before they're full CSR, like I think that's freaking crazy.
But they
Like,
must be a badass.
That's so much more than everybody else. Even the most sophisticated take 2 weeks, right?
Great.
To do 6 weeks, like this is a heavily trained person. There's a big expense to that, and there's a big effort, and people fall out. Like, how much would a company pay for someone that had that much training and some experience, especially if it was in their business already, right? Like, it'd be a chunk of change, and it would solve a big problem for them too. And then what you could become is a call center / training facility.
It's an interesting idea.
I feel like this is
They're supposed to just say, yes, we'll do that. We just got to figure out how much.
So Diane said that their call center books at least 80% of their phone calls.
Ours are higher than that, but I would definitely say 80% is a minimum if you're looking at other call centers. We're up closer to 90%.
In your background, Josh and Laura, how many call centers do you know that book 90% of their phone calls?
Like outsourced call centers? None.
Yeah.
In-house, yeah.
Yeah. So
out-house or outsourced, absolutely not.
Would you say that that's due to the absorbent amount of training, Diane and Barry?
Absolutely. There's a huge part of it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, if you're spending 6 weeks in training, like call centers are the biggest turnover department in any business, right? Like, are you retaining? Because like that's so much training on one CSR. It's intense. Like, if you put the dollar amount to that training, it's probably 25 grand. I don't know what the actual number is, but like there's a big chunk of change they have to make back over that period.
It's an incredible investment for us. Certainly is. And we actually have a very high retention rate. We keep a lot of our, don't we, Diane? We keep a lot of our agents.
Can we talk about, and I know maybe this is a little bit more personal and maybe something you wouldn't feel as comfortable sharing, but like, how are you paying these CSRs where you're able to convince them into training for 6 weeks and not selling over the phone? Because a call center, like an outsourced call center, generally doesn't do that, right? Like, how are you making that make sense and work?
If you don't mind, Diane, I'll just quickly mention something. And it's important for you guys to know and the listeners to know that we have an international team. We have agents here in the US. We also have agents in Mexico, and we have agents in the Philippines. In fact, the majority of our agents are in the Philippines. And
which are great answering phones, by the way.
They're fantastic.
Known for.
Fantastic. The majority of them have extensive customer service background, college educations. They speak great English. They read, they write, they understand. They're fantastic. They're incredibly positive. They work very hard, and we pay them well. We don't come in and we pay them more than they're getting paid other places, in some cases significantly. And so not only is it the pay, but it's also the culture. I can tell you that Diane and her team create an amazing culture with our call center. I think that's a big part of why we get them to stay. Diane, I'm sure you can add to that.
Absolutely. Culture is everything. And, running a remote call center with international agents all over the world presents its own unique challenges as far as maintaining that culture, keeping morale up, and team building, relationship building. And so we really spend some time focusing on that every month, every week. We've got tons of things we do to keep everyone engaged, and games that we play to keep morale up, and lots of bonus and reward systems for when, our CSRs are doing an amazing job. And it's a constant feedback situation where we are giving them feedback. We're doing one-on-one coaching, reviewing their calls with them, continuing to help them achieve their personal career goals. But then we also ask them to give us feedback all the time on how the training went when they went through it. So our new people are really valuable as far as how their feedback is and how that impacts how we change the next wave of people that we hire. And we'll change the training process based on the feedback. And then we also get periodic feedback on all of the managers and how they're doing. And so we really utilize it as a two-way conversation all the time in order to keep everybody super engaged and on the path of where they want to achieve their own personal career goals. So we're really invested in that.
I have a question, and this is just, I just can't even like fathom this idea. I guess I'm more big picture and think about how to execute. This is how to execute what I'm about to ask. Like, okay, so you have how many CSRs do you guys hire at any one time?
We're getting ready to hire 17 right now.
I like that. The thought of that stresses me out like so much. How the heck do you facilitate that training? Is it like one person trains on one thing and they meet 17 people every day until they're trained on that one thing? Like, what the heck does that look like? That's just
it's fun, especially because we've got lots of different time zones that we're dealing with. So we do have a lead trainer, obviously, who handles the majority of the training, but then we've got our mentors that come in and do one-off classes, as well as we've got, our trainers at PSP that come in and do some training with our CSRs in the call center as well. It's a mix of classroom, virtual classroom setting. And then we also get them on the phones as quickly as we can so that they can start utilizing the skills that they've learned, because we've realized that's how they retain it faster. So it's a mix of hands-on and virtual classroom type environment.
And you treat them, you coach them in a group setting then, you train them in a group setting, not a one-to-one.
Right. So initially we do a group setting for the training. And then once they've graduated into, what do we say, set them free in the wild, or on the phones, then that's when they switch to a one-on-one. And so they develop a great relationship with whomever their mentor is. And so they do that one-on-one coaching every other week, as well as we are monitoring all their KPIs and celebrating as amazing for everybody who's doing great.
So that's above and beyond the initial 6-week training.
Oh yeah, it's right, Governor.
Okay. So I've got a question. If I'm a contractor listening to this podcast, how do you deal with my compulsion to fire my CSR call center in-house and just hire you guys to do it? Are you saying that you're in the business of taking American jobs and sending them overseas?
It makes it so negative, Brigham. Oh man. You also kill babies and baby seals.
He brings up a good point, Diane. As you know, we've had that request, right? Where people just say, you know what, we would actually rather just send all of our calls to you guys, and we're getting ready to let go of our CSRs. And we say, absolutely not. We're not in the business of taking jobs away from good, hardworking Americans. We don't want that. In fact, what we'd rather do is we'd rather get them into coaching and help that person improve on their skills, give them the tools to do the things that we're doing with our agents, right? Which is increasing call conversion, booking calls, overcoming objections, keeping customers happy. And then we're happy to take their overflow when they're after hours. That's how we answer that.
It's just so amazing from a business perspective, and for listeners here that are, that you guys run a home service industry versus what PSP do. It shows the importance of cross-selling, like in a way that makes sense for the customer, which obviously what you guys do makes perfect sense for the customer, and one business feeds the other. I feel like if every home service industry actually took cross-selling more seriously, their average ticket would just, be just tremendously higher. Anyways, that's a whole different thing. I admire the innovation.
Yeah. So a couple of comments. Number one, clearly you're doing a call center significantly different than most people. The outsourcing might bug some people. It doesn't bug me at all. Like, I've hired people in the Philippines before. They could be amazing. And like, you could legit get college graduates for very inexpensive, and you can pay them well, and they could be just killers. And they speak
change their lives.
It's not that sprint where you pick it up and, hello, my name is Josh. They actually speak good English. I know. Details. I really like what you guys are doing. I think it's cool. I think it's a different twist. And what I would say is, real conversation. I'm sure you're going to have to go out to the Philippines at some point and do like a company celebration. If you need someone to speak, I'm willing to go with you.
Oh yeah, me too. In case you just need someone to keep jobs on the straight and narrow, I'm there.
That's right, fair. You
One
might,
of these days, we're going to get out there. Certainly need to get Diane out there to meet her team. They're absolutely in love with her. She's got an incredible connection. At the end of the year, Diane and her leadership team put together a Christmas party that I was fortunate enough to join. And it was just absolutely incredible to have the entire team join in virtually on this Christmas party and spend hours and hours. In fact, Diane and I, we were probably awake until 2 a.m. with our team, when they were playing games and singing songs, and we were handing out prizes. It was just absolutely incredible. And so one of these days we do need to get out there and do an in-person, party with them. That's our,
something I think you need to acknowledge yourselves for, and I'm sure you guys have, but from a public acknowledgement standpoint, you guys are really, really changing people's lives in the Philippines. Like, I once hired someone from the Philippines, and he was able to, what seemed to us as a conservative payment.
conservative may not be the right wording. We say unbelievably inexpensive might be a better word.
Yeah. Anyway, he was able to, take care of his family, his in-laws' family, his cousins, just the capabilities that this gave this gentleman. It changed his life. And obviously you're doing that in our case, it was just one person at the time. You guys are obviously growing.
Used to call us crying because I remember one time we gave him like a $500 bonus. I was like, you've been just killing it. Like, we're just gonna give you $500 just as a thank you. And like, you thought we gave him $1 million.
Yeah, I just had a CSR last week buy their first house who never going to be able to buy a house. So I mean, and it's amazing happening left and right. We get it at least 2 or 3 a month where people are just so grateful. And that's it, is that we're really taking care of them and they're really taking care of us back. And that's how it works. That's amazing. That's amazing. That gave me the chills. What makes me cry? I'm not going to start crying. Yeah, it does make me cry. Yeah, I can imagine. I enjoyed this very much, guys. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up this episode?
How do contractors find you guys?
They can go to our website, which is bookedbypsp.com. They're also welcome to reach out to me directly. It's barry@powersellingpros.com.
You don't have a book email address? Come on now, man.
I can get you one, Barry. I get you one by midnight.
So here's,
or they can call me on cell phone.
Booked is a brilliant name, by the way. It's simple, it's clean. Booked.com is available. Why didn't we buy that?
Because we're part of Power Selling Pros, right? And that's important to our value proposition. I think all of our agents are trained by Power Selling Pros. And I can tell you right now that when people find out that we have a call center and know that our agents are trained and certified and receive ongoing coaching, that's probably their number one reason why they want to use us. And so that was important to our branding and to our name.
Okay. Good enough answer for me, man.
Well, way to put him in his box, Barry. I like it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I can only imagine how life-changing this is for not just, of course, the people in the Philippines, but for contractors who are worried that all these marketing dollars they're spending just go out the window when they call it not
worried. They know they
yeah. So seriously, you guys are impacting this industry, in many, many ways. And thank you. And I enjoyed this podcast. As for our listeners, I hope you guys did too. Certainly don't be afraid to reach out to these guys, even if you choose not to work with them. And they'll offer you very insightful tips and tricks in addition to just maybe it's a perfect fit for you all to move forward.
Well, thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, if everybody liked this, you know the routine. Follow, like, share with your friends. Do all the things.
All those things.
All those things. And, go change the world. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you for listening to Lip Service for Contractors. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to leave us a review in the App Store and don't forget to share with your friends. Ideas are cheap. Implementation is what separates the winners from the watchers. Go out and implement these ideas. See you on the next episode of Lip Service for Contractors.